intraday and unsinkable day. And I'll get back into that a little bit later, and even how to find out what is an unsinkable day, a day that just refuses to go down, and how can you even tell what it is. But first of all, I just want to go through, I'm on Central Standard Time, and so I don't start trading until 9:10, and that's where we are right now. And this is why, when you look at a start like this, there's a lot of false indications. There's just not a whole lot happening here where you can trade anything with conviction. So this line down here isn't quite clear yet, but we'll show how this next candle plays out, and you can see that we've got a little bit of a wedge forming. And what I'll also do, and you can see that's testing the top of that wedge, is I'm going to turn on the PSAR, because that can tell us if there's going to be a directional change. And so you can see that's a parabolic stop and reverse. You can see we're above VWAP, and you can see, though, the 820 EMA clouds are very tight in here. The green line is the 8 EMA, and then the red buried in here is the 20. And so what I want to do is I want to place a stop buy above this. I don't want to get in down here because it can turn on me, but I'll place a stop buy above that, and then I would have a stop buy for puts below this in case that actually drops down. So I'll hold my cursor right here to show where that stop buy would be, and when we might possibly get in. So these are 5-minute candles, but on TradingView, this is going to actually go through quite a bit faster here. So you can see at this point that the position has been filled, and you can just see what happens when something breaks out of a pennant. We can have a pretty accelerated move. We can have some momentum, and it's hard to know how far something will go, how high that might go. Some people might use a fib extension and try to guess, and so we can actually try to draw what we see for our highs and lows of the day so far, and see if maybe, see if maybe a fib extension might help us a little bit. But for me, what I do is I will scale out at 20%, and then I'll try to sell at 50%, and then I'll have a stop for the rest. So we'll see what happens here. That's a pretty big move right there. And so in most days, we would expect that we would have some pretty strong continuation. You can see this hit a fib extension here of the 618, and that's over here. And that's a pretty good extension to really try to lock in profits on. And so we'll see how the response comes after a strong move like that. So you can see after that, we definitely have some selling coming in. It did hit up a little bit higher, and now we've got a pullback for sure. How far is it going to pull back? It's always hard to know for sure, but we're looking for the size of candles, and that one right there is pretty close to what you would call a bearish engulfing candle. So this day is already showing itself to be pretty volatile. We've already canceled out this big move, and this almost engulfs what we have going on there. And so I did enter puts here, and I was doing the same thing, scaling out at 20%, and then aiming for 50%, and having that stop set. And so we'll see what happens if this might even come over and change over to a PSAR switch as well. So that's a pretty volatile morning so far. Big moves on both sides. What I also want to do is just even draw these lines and have them extended out, because sometimes you can even see how that might play out later on in the day. You can see right here that these candles are following this trend line that was set up from earlier in the morning. You can see our 820 is pretty tight. And so there aren't a whole lot of moves to be made right now. This is doji indecisive candles. This is a time to make sure that you're aiming to try to get your profits. We've got a big move down here, so that's good. At this point, I had sold out of my position. And so now we're trying to see if this might bounce, because we just hit the low of the day, which was established over here. Let me see, sorry. Yep, no, that was established right there. how is it going to react to the low of the day? And it did bounce. It hit that trend line. Some people will play this move, and if you play this move, I would just recommend you play it small because you can see our candles have some high wicks at the top. So I'll actually adjust this trend line a little bit just to fit what we might see as a current trend. It does seem that right now is a pretty safe time to be in on calls, but when you see wicks like that and it hitting resistance, I think that's always a good time to just make sure that you've taken your profits. But what I wanted to show is what I call an unsinkable day. So as this comes down, I'm going to just hover my mouse cursor right above VWAP, and we'll see what happens every time it hits VWAP. How does it respond? So right there, hit VWAP, it bounced a little bit. Went under VWAP, so let's see, what does the next candle do? This looks like it might have puts, but it recovered. In fact, this candle canceled out this move. That's sign number one that this one might be an unsinkable day. And so now we're here. Clouds are showing green. You can see the 8 is above the 20. PSAR has shown buys for calls, but there isn't anything here where like a trend line has been broken or an A+ move in my book. Some people will play this, but they'll get chopped out because options can move pretty fast. So we're seeing here of possible, we've got a trend going. We've got this trend that was set down here, and we've got a little bit of an ascending channel. But really, today was one of those days where it kept coming back, and it tested VWAP and looked like it was going to break down, but the dip buyers kept on coming back in. So watch this next candle. This candle negated the red candle. So that's hint number 2, that we have an unsinkable day. Someone is not letting this, the algos are not letting this go down and bleed the way it has for the past few days. And so that might be a sign right there to get into calls. But if you're going to get into calls, make sure you're selling them right away, because we do have some resistance for sure up there. And this is a day to make sure that you're just happy taking profits when they come. We are now at, so right there would be a really good time to say, okay, I'm good. I'll take these profits. And it might come up and it might retest. But this is just one of those choppy days, and you can see it just starts coming back down. And we'll see how the next one goes. It looks like that one's coming down. Let's see if this hits the VWAP. Hits VWAP and bounces. So someone could be really risky and buy some calls right now to say, okay, I'm seeing that every time it hits VWAP, it bounces. If you do it, I would say go in small and take your profits pretty quickly. But an unsinkable day, it's no surprise this is going to finish green. This is going to finish up more than 1% on a day. So I just wanted to show how VWAP can really help in determining if a day is one of those flush days or if it's going to be what I would call an unsinkable day.